The summer break is quickly approaching, meaning the rumor mill is churning. While some driver lineups are already decided, there are still some that are up in the air. So like every F1 YouTuber out there, I figured I would lay out my predictions for the 2023 driver lineups. Red Bull is one of those teams that is already locked down. Max is clearly here to stay for years to come and a permanent fixture in the Red Bull lineup. Despite his best efforts, Sergio Perez wasn't able to cover his slip-up during the Monaco celebrations when he joked to Christian Horner that he signed too early. About as good at keeping secrets as Tom Holland. Red Bull were then forced to announce he had signed on for another 2 years. Without this, there might have been much more debate around his Red Bull seat, with Pierre Gasly still sniffing from his spot at AlphaTauri. Even so, Sergio is still the clear choice here. He has been impressive this year, even outperforming Max in a couple races. Unless he royally screws up in the latter half of the season, he'll be back. Speaking of Gasly, I don't think Red Bull were ever fully considering him for this seat. I've always had the sense that something happened behind the scenes during his stint at the big team in 2019. Even if he deserves it, I don't think the pride or ego of Christian Horner or Helmut Marko would allow them to bring Gasly back in. I don't know if it was his attitude or just his driving style, but something just wasn't a good fit there. Ferrari are also set in stone, with Charles Il Predestinato Leclerc in a long-term contract and Carlos having signed earlier this year for another 2 years. Carlos is a little bit lucky he signed his contract when he did, because he has struggled so far in 2022. He hasn't quite been able to get the car to fully work for him, and constant spins into the gravel have not been a good look. Carlos does have some breathing room due to his fantastic 2021 season, but if he ends up costing Ferrari the constructors in any way, it could spell trouble for him in the future. I'm positive he should be able to sort things out by season's end, though. There are a lot of what-ifs with Mercedes' lineup for 2023. George Russell is set in stone and has been performing fantastically well and spectacularly consistent in 2022. However, there are many chances for a change on the other side. It's all up to Lewis, though, and how Mercedes develops the car over the year. If Mercedes is able to get their car to a place where it can win races again, I see Lewis sticking around for another year to try and win his 8th. However, if the Mercedes is not in a good place by the end of 2022, there is the chance that Lewis may decide to hang up his racing boots. I've gotten some sense of nostalgia from Lewis this year, with how he wants to change his last name to include his mother's maiden name, and how he is using his old yellow helmet design. This might be a sign that things are nearing its end with him. For now, I think he will stay on to finish out his current contract with them. If Lewis does decide to leave F1, there would be a ton of interest for his seat. While I think they could poach anyone on the grid, if they believe that Russell is the real deal, I think they would go for someone who would fit the bill as a Valtteri Bottas over going for the best driver available. With this in mind, I would see it as a 2-horse race for his seat, Pierre Gasly or Esteban Ocon. Pierre has impressed the past couple seasons with incredibly consistent racing. Now that there is no shot at a Red Bull seat, I'm sure he would jump at the chance at a seat at another top team. Esteban has a foot in the door, given that Toto is his manager. He's also looked great so far in 2022, outscoring Alonso, although a lot of that has been a lack of luck on Alonso's side. My money is on Gasly between the two, though. McLaren's lineup has somehow become up in the air in recent weeks. However, one of the spots is clear, and it is the once-and-future King Lando. With a long-term contract and the team being built around him, we won't be losing him anytime soon. Zach Brown opened up a can of worms when he mentioned Daniel Ricciardo's future with the team is not set in stone. The sense that I'm getting is that it's entirely up to Daniel whether he continues with the team. As much of a struggle as it has been for him, we saw in 2021 that things did improve in the latter half of the season. Daniel has also seen the consequences of jumping ship too early, Renault, and might want more time to sort out whether or not he can adjust to the car. It appears Daniel is comfortable with the team, but one can never know for sure. The deciding factor for this one might be if there are other options available to Daniel on other teams. I doubt that he would want to move to a team that is further back on the grid than McLaren though, even though he is struggling with them so much. For that reason, I think he sticks it out for 2023. Alfa Romeo is also in an interesting spot, having improved significantly in 2022 thanks entirely to one driver. Valtteri Bottas has been absolutely incredible so far in 2022. He might even be driver of the year, discounting the battle at the top. He seems to have found his groove and a spot that is comfortable for him. It's well deserved after all the stress he had to endure at Mercedes all those years. It's truly been great to see. While Joe hasn't done anything bad in 2022, he hasn't done anything spectacular either. Just putting in safe drives and finishing just outside the points week after week. Meanwhile, Théo Pourchaire has been linked to a seat at Alfa Romeo for a couple seasons now. I think they will finally decide to give him a chance and hope that he has a bit more spark. Alpine are really in a pickle with 3 excellent drivers for 2 seats. Ocon is already locked in until 2024, and he has done enough in 2022 to hold on to his seat. As great of a driver as Alonso is, I feel like there isn't much more he needs to prove in Formula 1. I think Alpine will want to get in on the young driver action and finally give Oscar Piastri a well-deserved seat in their car. If they do go this direction, I think Alonso might leave Formula 1 again, unless he is given a seat in a top team. As much as he might want to stick around and as much as he still has the racing talent, the ship might have sailed for him, with many teams wanting to give young drivers a chance. AlphaTauri is very up in the air with both of their seats. It ultimately depends on what happens with other seats around the paddock, as well as how the Red Bull Juniors and F2 do. I could see a change if one of them win the F2 championship, but there doesn't appear to be any standouts from the crowd so far. With how development is happening with the new F1 cars, it might be more beneficial to AlphaTauri to have continuity in their driver lineup. Yuki has had an excellent start to 2022, already ahead of pace to outscore his 2021 season. He looks to finally be coming into his own on the team, so I think he'll stick around. Pierre is in a tricky spot that entirely depends on other drivers' decisions. Ultimately, since I don't see a spot opening up at a top team in 2023, I decided to leave him at AlphaTauri on a 1-year contract. If he can bide his time, by 2024 I think he has a shot at either a Mercedes or McLaren seat, depending on the futures of Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. Pierre might need to play the long game here. As long as he doesn't fall off, I think he would have his pick of the litter come 2024. Haas has moved into a great spot, with them managing to advance up the grid after an abysmal 2021. Kevin should have never left Haas, if I'm being completely honest, and it feels like he never did leave. He has that car completely under control, and it might cost Mick his Formula 1 career. As big a name as Mick Schumacher carries, the constant costly crashes are a dark spot on his resume. The fact that Kevin has consistently scored points and Mick still doesn't have any is very concerning. I see them maybe giving him a year off to be a development driver, to learn the ropes a bit more. It seemed to work for Ocon and Albon, so might work for him. As for his seat, Joe brings good money to Formula 1, and I see Haas snapping him up from Alfa Romeo. I think the funding and support from China that Joe brings would be very appealing to Haas, with them losing their Russian oligarch money. Aston Martin is a complete mess. I don't see anyone even wanting to join them at the moment. To be perfectly honest, I don't think I can ever treat Aston Martin seriously until Lance Stroll no longer drives for them. You shouldn't mix family and business, and I don't see how Lawrence Stroll will ever bring success to this team. He is doing it all for his son, but in the process is much too involved, and it is costing car development and team morale. Lance just doesn't seem to have the urgency in his driving because he is never at risk of losing his seat if he does a bad job. He might have a great performance every once in a while, but it comes so much more often from other drivers. This year especially, there seems to be more mistakes happening than usual, but as long as Lawrence owns the team, Lance will be there. Everyone seems to think Seb will retire at the end of the year, but come on, the man is only 34. The Aston Martin is a long-term project, and Monaco proved that Seb still has it. I see Seb giving it at least one more year with the team to see if there's any glimmer of hope. It doesn't seem like there are many other options anyways. Finally, we have the perennial bottom feeders, Williams, who at this point have become a junior team for Mercedes. Albon has impressed so far in 2022 with 2 miraculous point finishes so far. I see him continuing to be on loan from Red Bull until a spot can open up for him at AlphaTauri again. With the lack of movement I'm feeling for 2023, I don't see that happening, and I think Williams will at least want some continuity to help the development of their car. 2023 will mark the end of the road for Nicholas Latifi. It seems like 3 seasons is the length of rope given to most drivers, and there has just been nothing notable in his career. Well, apart from his mark in the history books as the cause of the chaos at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Nyck de Vries has long been in Mercedes' junior driver program, and with Williams' ties to the engine supplier, he is likely to take the open spot. I could also see Williams seeking out Alonso if he doesn't stay at Alpine, although whether or not he would sign would be an entirely different story. So, those are my predictions for the 2023 driver lineups. Let me know your predictions in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Formula One content.